Quinn, I love you, Quinn. Regardless of the past, my brother. You my little brother, man. I don't like how you linked up with that boy messing him and y'all recorded explosive mode with some of the equipment. Not all of it. Some of them beats was made with stolen equipment that was mine. And you didn't stand up. You continued to work with that boy, and you know he was the cause and he was the architect. No, let me take that back. Not the architect. He followed the architect blueprint, and neither one of y'all cleared it up back then. When I say cleared it up, meaning if you know your brother got hit by this nigga right here for the fame of making an album with him, you chose the fame instead of your brother, and that's why I was upset. But 1998 to 2026, you my brother, I ain't holding no grudges. But you was on the dinner plate. You was discussed to get, I didn't present that, but that was part of the discussion. If you fucking with him, you ducking with him. You know how it go, Quinn. We from field mode. That's the past. It's out. It been out. People been new. Just keep pushing, little bro. Peace.
The situation with San Quinn, JT, the Bigga Figga, Messy Marv, and Mac Minister is one of those Bay Area stories that shows how complicated loyalty can get when everybody knows everybody. From JT's perspective, San Quinn knew both sides. He knew JT, and he also knew Messy Marv and Mac Minister. So in JT's eyes, the issue wasn't just about somebody taking studio equipment. The bigger issue was about who stayed solid when it mattered. Because when you deal with somebody first, when that person helps put you in position, gives you opportunity, opens doors, and lets you be around the business, there is a certain level of respect that should come with that. Now, some people might say San Quinn was stuck in the middle. If he knew both sides equally, then maybe he didn't want to choose sides. But that's exactly what makes the situation so difficult. Sometimes not choosing a side is still choosing a side. When you know somebody might be getting done wrong and you stay quiet, the person who got done wrong is going to feel like you allowed it to happen. And that's where loyalty gets tested. JT is basically saying, I help people. I gave people a platform. I had motion. I had business going. I had a studio. I had a way for people to create and make something happen. So if somebody was planning to take from him, and people around him knew about it but stayed silent, he's going to look at that as a violation. Now, to be fair, when people mention Mac Minister, they always bring up the reputation he had. Mac Minister was not looked at like just another rapper. He had a certain presence and a certain street reputation that made people careful about how they moved around him. So you can understand why some people may have been scared to say something. They probably didn't want any problems. They didn't want to be involved. They didn't want the pressure that came with speaking up. But that's where being solid separates itself from being convenient. It's easy to be loyal when nothing is on the line. It's easy to say you're real when everybody is getting along. But the real test comes when telling the truth might cost you something. The real test comes when you have to stand on business, even when it's uncomfortable. And in this situation, JT feels like certain people failed that test. The crazy part is, JT says he's not mad anymore. And that makes sense. This happened a long time ago. Since then, he has grown. He has kept working. He has made more money. He has gotten more equipment. He has built more opportunities. So at this point, it's probably not about the material things anymore. It's not about the speakers, the boards, the microphones, or whatever was taken. It's about the principle. Because when somebody steals from you, they're not just taking an item. They're taking trust. They're taking respect. They're changing the relationship forever. And that's something a lot of people don't understand until it's too late. One bad move can cost you years of opportunity. One fake moment can close doors that would have stayed open for life. JT has been connected to movies, music, business, and different entertainment opportunities. If those relationships had stayed solid, who knows what could have happened? Maybe Messy Marv could have been placed in a movie. Maybe San Quinn could have gotten a role. Maybe Mac Minister could have benefited from a legitimate business situation. But when trust is broken, the opportunity disappears. That's why staying solid is powerful. Being solid is not just about street talk. It's about being dependable. It's about people knowing they can trust you when money, pressure, and temptation are involved. A solid person gets recommended. A solid person gets invited into rooms. A solid person gets opportunities later because people remember how they carried themselves. But when you move fake, people remember that too. The game has a funny way of showing people the results of their choices. JT is still here, still doing better, still able to speak on the situation from a place of growth. Meanwhile, Mac Minister ended up with a life sentence behind the situation, connected to the retaliation after Mac Dre's murder. Messy Marv's life took a hard turn, and people still talk about his struggles. San Quinn is still trying to keep his name alive in the rap game years later. That's why JT can look back and say he doesn't have to be bitter. Life handled a lot of things on its own, and that's the lesson. Sometimes you don't have to get revenge. Sometimes you just keep building, keep working, and let time expose everything. The people who were fake eventually show it. The people who were solid eventually get rewarded. In the Bay Area, loyalty means something. Reputation means something. Your name means something. Once people feel like you folded, stayed quiet, or played both sides, it can follow you for years. And even if people forgive you, they may never trust you the same again. So this story is bigger than music. It's bigger than studio equipment. It's bigger than old Bay Area drama. This is about what happens when opportunity meets loyalty. JT had the motion. He had the studio. He had the business mind. He had the ability to put people in position. But if people don't respect the opportunity, they lose access to it. And once that door closes, it might never open again. That's why the game is serious. Because in the moment, somebody might think they're getting over. They might think they're winning by taking something. They might think silence protects them. But years later, the truth still comes out. And when it does, people remember who stood tall and who folded. Being solid might not pay you today, but it can pay you tomorrow. Being fake might benefit you today, but it can cost you everything later. And in this situation, JT walked away with the biggest lesson and the biggest victory. He kept going. He didn't let the betrayal stop him. He didn't let the loss break him. He continued to build while the people who wronged him ended up dealing with their own consequences. That's why sometimes the best revenge is elevation.